good, right? All right, welcome to the ModMan ModCast. Today, we are gonna welcome to the ModMan ModCast. My name is Matthew Casto, and I'm the co-founder and visionary behind the ModMan project. And of course, we have Michael Roldan here with us today, other co-founder.
Hello, my name is Michael. I am the head of education development for ModMan. And then we also have with us today Sandro. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Alessandro Casto. I'm also part of the ModMan project. I'm usually the guy behind the camera, but today you guys dragged me out in front of the lens, so I'm excited to see what you guys want to talk about.
Happy to have you.
Yeah, Michael and I figured what would be a good topic would be to chat a little bit about the up-and-coming birth of your baby that's on the way.
Violeta.
Yeah. Violeta's coming. A couple weeks,
Soon.
2-3 weeks.
Hopefully sooner than that.
Yeah, we'd like to touch a little bit on some of the responsibilities associated with being a father, and along with that, maybe some of the virtues, some of the inner work that you've had to do in the last 9 months of your life to prepare yourself to be a better or a prepared partner.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
then maybe touch a little bit on some of the opportunities, some of the gifts that come along with becoming a father, and you can even comment a little bit about that, Michael, as you are father of a 2.5-year-old.
Yeah, still
younger,
fresh
so.
for me. So
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
can kind of witness this is the work that had to happen, but this is the benefit.
what it looks like on the other side, kind of
Yeah.
once you get there.
Then we
Yeah.
can get your perspective as well as a seasoned father, grandfather now, right?
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been fun since since the wedding. I recently got married, as you both know, and since bringing in Jacqueline's family into the fold, it's been amazing to have 10 children, so to speak, in our life. I would have never ever imagined 35 years ago when I ventured off on becoming a married man and becoming a partner that I would end up with the gifts that come along with having 10 wonderful children in my life and their partners. So it's tremendous, and one of those great gifts clearly is grandchildren. They used to always say to me, or people always said, "Oh, children are great, but grandchildren are even better." And I used to kind of like poo-poo that a little bit. I'd be like, "Oh, come on, how could it be that much better to have grandchildren?" And grandchildren are pretty great. That's true. It's pretty great. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with you and your partner,
Yeah.
and what's.
So we're almost at the 9-month mark now, I think.
Full term.
Yeah, full term. We're a couple weeks away. The due date's in the middle of August, but it's hot out there, and she's getting bigger by the day. So hopefully that comes sooner, but you never really know when it can come. So now there's just a little bit of that. I don't want to say anxiety, but just you're just waiting for.
The inevitable.
Your life has been building up for the past 9 months for this to happen, right? And so you're kind of at the end of that road. But then obviously I realized that that's not, that's just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a hurdle. It's a step you go over, or a transition there, and then the work continues.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. I have a good idea, but I think up until this point I've just been mainly just focusing on what I have what I can do right now, and not thinking too much about what is to come after baby's born.
So in terms of that idea you're saying about you don't know what it's going to look like, I think we have someone that's been through that experience 6
Many
times
times.
here.
Yeah.
So Matthew, from your personal experience, what are some of the things that you define as the role that you carry as the father while your partner's giving birth?
Wow, that's a good question. So 4 of our children were actually birthed at home. So the mother of my children she made it very clear to me early on that she wanted to have her children at home, which for me was, I was like, you joking me? You're gonna have them at home? Seriously? I grew up in a family where we were certainly not along the philosophy that you took that responsibility on yourself, and we would always go to my mom. We were all birthed in the hospital, and so I just thought that's the way it was supposed to be. And then all of a sudden, Sabina announced, "Yeah, I'm gonna have them at home," and I was like, "Okay, so what does that mean for me?" And I had to catch up really quick. And I think the thing that was amazing about having children at home was that you were able to fully take on for yourself the responsibility associated with giving birth. So there was a lot of preparation leading up to that, and a little bit of anxiety because everybody has an opinion, right?
Yeah.
And their opinion can be, "Oh, that's dangerous, don't do that," or "What, are you crazy?" type of thing. So we had very successful births at home, and I was able to catch and deliver the children, and had a couple in the swimming pool, like a bath of water.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was really, really awesome. And there was some scary moments where I almost thought we had to take her off to the hospital because one reason or the other, but for the most part, God was good to us, and there was not massive complications, and we were able to have healthy children. But what were my responsibilities? Bar none, the most important responsibility for me was to stay grounded myself. For me to have strength and confidence that everything was going to go well, that if I was nervous and I was shaken slightly, that I wouldn't allow that to be visible for her, that she needed to be able to look at me through all of the difficult things, right? Through all of the pain, through all of the potential dangers. Look at me, and me able to say to her, "You got this, we're in this, you have this is gonna happen. You're fine, you can do this." And then at some point, you as a partner almost begin to take over, because they're in such a state in terms of their physical pain that sometimes you end up making decisions for them.
Yeah.
And that's really good too, because you then are playing an active role in the birth. So stay grounded. I think that's the key, to stay grounded. There's all the little runaround stuff that you can do in terms of providing things to help, rubbing backs and taking all that. I mean, all that stuff's valuable.
Keeping
and
them hydrated,
and
keeping them
water.
fed.
Yeah, and whatever it is. I mean, the water was really awesome for us, because it seemed to be that every time she's immersed in water, she felt really good, and it kind of calmed her down. So preparing nice tubs and that kind of stuff was always really intricate, but just staying grounded. I remember there was one particular moment, and it was the birth of Isabella, so our first child, and her mother had been laboring for almost 2 days, and not serious laboring for 2 days, but maybe 24 hours of really intense laboring, and she was at that point where she was going to give up. I can't do this because clearly I'm not going to dilate enough, and it's my first child, and so I'm gonna give up, right? And that there was a moment where I was like, I think we should give up. But then I look back to what we had really discussed and what her wishes were, and she at one point had made me promise to not let her give up. That unless her life was in danger, the baby's life was in danger, not let her give up. And so finding ways to not let her give up. And in that case, the way I was able to help her find that, it was I leaned into my faith, and we had a gentleman from our church come over, and together we prayed with her and pronounced a blessing of good health and will on her. And that kind of action of calling upon a higher power, if you will, to assist her, gave her just that little bit of extra strength, that little bit of extra confidence to know that she could push forward, and then shoot from there. She had a happy baby, and then 5 more down the road. It was great.
History.
How about you? What was your role experience like?
Definitely some similar things to you. I would say I like grounding that you use. For me, it was just more or less support. This is something that the mother is going through on herself,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't take away that pain. You can't take that experience and kind of live it for her, but you just have to be the best support possible. If like a good analogy, it's like if she's the star of the basketball team, you're not the star right now. You're not the lead role. Your role is to be available and ready as the support.
Mm-hmm.
She's Michael Jordan. She's doing all the heavy lifting. You just got to be standing in the corner, ready to shoot the three when it's your time. You have to be a support and just be ready to do your best, essentially.
Yeah.
To support her and to encourage her, like you said, is a really big thing, because at the end of the day, it is a solo experience that she's having the birth, but she doesn't need to do it alone. Similar things that we've talked about, where you just being there and being any kind of support is more than enough.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of the conversations we've had in some of our last episodes of discussion, and that is just that the journey to manhood in general is a solo journey, but really can't be done alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having a child is much the same way. She's got to do this. She's got to find the strength. And truthfully, I believe when Kylie has her successful birth, it will be something she'll look back on to for the rest of her life as a rite of passage for her that she went through, where she can look back and say, I did something really hard. I did something really incredible. And she will never, that will be like a portal
Pivotal
that she'll go
moment
through, a
in her
pivotal
life,
moment
yeah.
that she'll have gone through,
Mm-hmm.
which she'll never be able to go back, right? That's,
Yep.
she can always look back to that and be like, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
I did that and I accomplished that. I am powerful, I am great. And you can help provide that for her as you're there and as you're present.
Yeah, and I know what motivates her and what ways I can motivate her and what ways I can support her and be there for her during the process.
Yeah. So over the last 9 months, as you've been preparing, what are some of the changes you've made in your life in anticipation, or some of the
Yeah.
growth you've had
Yeah.
in anticipation?
Well, I probably about like 8 or 9 months ago, I switched career paths. We weren't pregnant yet, but that was kind of around the same time. And it's funny how kind of life will do all the changes will happen at the same time, right? It one didn't have to do with the other, but it all kind of lined up so that everything felt right.
Mm-hmm.
When we found out that she was pregnant, it kind of felt right. I was like, yeah, we're going through a lot of change right now. For some reason, this feels like it was meant to be. And then from there on, I'd kind of, we moved in together, and I think I started taking on a lot more responsibility when it comes to providing. She's been focusing on herself, on pregnancy, on the baby. That's her job. That's her work that she has to do. My work is more of, providing a space, providing stability, providing all of that for our daughter to come into the world and have that space to come into. I hadn't really stepped into that role yet. I don't think previously in my life fully. I think that was kind of the moment where I thought to myself, okay, this is now it's not just about me anymore. It's not, I'm not living in my bachelor pad anymore, just me. There's other people that are depending on me. So not that I wasn't taking things seriously before, but it was kind of an energy switch.
Well, yeah, you were forced by circumstance to make a choice, and that choice is, I'm going to lean in to providing a life for the mother of my baby and my baby. Am I going to be the provider from this day forward? And provider meaning not just financial provider, but provider of safety, provider of a space of comfort, a space of refuge, emotional provider of a unit, like a family unit, and that's a huge role and responsibility to take on, and I don't think anybody really makes that choice consciously. Circumstance normally chooses that for you.
Yeah.
More often
I
than
don't
not.
remember a specific moment that I said to myself, okay, it's like, this is time to do it. I don't remember a specific moment, but like you said, it was circumstance, and then it just, it's either you do it or you don't, right? And I don't think I sat down and told myself, this is my time to do that. I feel like that's more happening now as we're getting ready for the birth. I think now is my head is in more of a space where I'm like, okay, as soon as that happens, this is from there forward. It's hit the ground running kind of thing. I think that's more of a moment, right?
Yeah.
But how's it been for her? Because here's a young lady who's obviously capable, smart, educated, and been taught in her life that she needs to be providing and taking care of herself and self-reliant and self-sufficient for herself. Has it been a transition for her or difficulty for her to allow you the space to step into this masculine role of protection and providing? Has she been able to do that with ease, or has that been a challenge in your relationship too?
Oh, it's definitely been a personal challenge for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's been very independent, and she's always had a job, made her own money, kind of taking care of herself in that regards, and then stepping into a more feminine mother figure kind of role, and into a space where I am providing a lot of that support for her. It's been difficult for her to validate that she deserves that. You know what I mean?
Well, the world doesn't really validate easily the importance of motherhood. Oftentimes that is a role that isn't, the price of value is not as high as someone who's gone and sought a career, or
Yeah.
and which is unfortunate, because clearly we need great mothers in this world. And I know that your mother had a challenge with that, because here she spent a good 15 to 18 years of her life pregnant and having children and raising young children, to lose a career, to lose relevancy in the workplace, to get to a space where now you guys are all not older, but you're at a point where she can go back and start to develop a career and work. And she felt like that she lost a lot of time. She lost a lot of connection with being in the workforce. Do Kylie have some plans to kind of try to keep her relevant in that sort of a way? Or
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that?
I think definitely nowadays with technology and the way that people can work from home, and you can start businesses a lot easier than maybe before. You can be connected through social media, through all these different platforms. She has her goals and ambitions, and she's working on those things, and that's very much something that she can do at the same time as being a mother. It will be a lot of work and will be time consuming for her, but there will definitely be a lot of downtime where she can focus her energy on those things.
Keep her dreams alive.
Yeah, whereas I think we're very fortunate of that nowadays, where it's very easy to, I don't want to say easy, but it's easier than it's ever been to start a brand and market yourself and do all of that online on social media and create a name for yourself and be out there all from your home office.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the times have changed too, in terms of the roles of who provides and who protects in a home.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And I know that, Michael, you're in the middle of going to school right now and studying full time, and you're Isabella, your wife is working like crazy and helping to provide on the financial side, while you're able to support her taking care of Sabina and your child. And so that traditional man has to work and provide hasn't been necessarily the case in your life in the last couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. That took a long time to find a healthy balance. And it was one of those things that I've struggled with where society tells you that to be a man, and especially to be a new father, you need to do X, Y, and Z. You need to provide financially, you need to be working hard, and you need to be protecting your family. And in my case, it was a little bit different. It was almost completely swapped where Bella was working full time and being the provider for the household, and I took on almost like essentially a motherly role. I was the full time caretaker during the day. I, pack the lunches, change the diapers, go to the mom groups, and I'm the only dad there.
It was awesome.
It was an experience, and it was something that I struggled with being okay because I felt like this whole time that society was telling me that I was doing the wrong thing by taking care of my daughter and going to a dance class or a music class, and that
Yeah.
I shouldn't be doing this and enjoying this. I should actually be working. And it took quite a long time, I'd say up until just recently, to where I've been able to healthfully express those feelings, and we've tried to work towards a balance where it's okay that it's more than okay, actually. It's what I needed at that time was to be that caretaker role, to kind of feel a little more into the feminine energy side. And once I feel like I accepted that, it was only up from there. It made my days better, and I appreciated every moment I had, especially now as I transition away from that caretaker role, as now I'm getting towards the end of school, starting to get my own business rolling, and just kind of having a full-time job and working towards a career, that some of those traditionally feminine motherly aspects we have kind of shifted back into just finding that more balanced relationship of the masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's certain that the mother, well, you guys have heard me say this 100 times, and that is that within each one of us, there's our masculine and feminine. We have our yin and our yang, that balance, and that some masculine traits show up in some times of our life, and some feminine in other times of our life. But we have to cultivate and develop both of those to be really a well-rounded person.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes our partner can play a role that will fulfill one in a powerful way at one time, and we have to fill the other because each family needs that, and so that kind of give and take is really important as long as everybody's aware of it.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is communicating it, and those boundaries and those expectations that you have in the relationship, especially after a newborn baby, are super important to set early. It just makes sure that there's no resentment between like you and mom.
For sure.
You guys have
For
those
sure.
boundaries set, and there's the communication between them. It makes everyone's life easier.
Yeah. Yeah, and if mom and dad are happy, baby's gonna be happy because
Exactly.
the environment, the energy is gonna be positive. Baby's gonna be happy no matter what. Doesn't matter what your circumstances are, your money, your anything. If you are happy, then your baby's happy. And I think that our standard going forward is that my relationship with her is number one priority in our household.
Yeah.
And child relationship is always second to that, because if we are not happy and we are not in a good relationship, then we're not in a good space, then baby won't be happy. And then even more than that, you're setting an example for into the future. You're setting an example for your child that of what a relationship is. You're setting those expectations, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it sometimes can be challenging to maintain that perspective too, because
Sure.
clearly the squeaky wheel, so to speak, gets the grease in a family. So child that's up in the middle of the night crying, baby that needs to be, fed, all of the things that come as a emergency necessity sometimes always take the priority at that exact moment. And it's possible in a great relationship to lose sight of the fact that the relationship is the primary
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that certainly happened to me in my life. As you buy homes and you gain responsibilities as a father, and you have maybe multiple children, and it requires mom to be over here and dad to be over here, and you're kind of both doing what you need to do for the welfare of the family. And if you're not careful and you're not prioritizing the relationship, you can soon find yourself on two sides
Yeah.
of the family, both working on the family, but one on this side of it and the other on this side of it, and you're kind of far away from each other going, hey, over there,
Yeah.
remember me? So maybe that's a good thing to think about too, is how do we do that? How do we, as men, fulfill our role as fathers, but also not lose sight of the fact that we are also lovers and partners? How do we best do that?
It's a great question. I haven't thought about that much, but it is one of the leading causes, I feel like, of turmoil in relationships is that distance that's created, especially when you're putting so much energy into a child, that there's no energy left to put in the relationship. And finding that balance and constantly communicating and taking a step back to reassess is key to long-term health in a relationship. I feel like right when you have the baby, there's so much of that haze and that fog that it's easy to get lost in the moment because you're so hyper-focused on this new life. But it's important to be able to take a step out of that sometimes and to reassess, like, where are we? How am I as an individual? Because for a long time after the baby's born, it is almost like you're no longer Sandro. You are dad, or you're Violetta's dad. And you can easily lose sight, and, years go by quick, and then you take a step back and you're like, I've been dad this whole time, but who is Sandro?
Yeah.
What are my interests? What are my likes? And who is Kylie as well? Who is my partner? What did we bond on? Why did we choose to be together in the first place? It's super important to take a step back and analyze those things, reassess those things, and just kind of bring them back to the front of the brain in a sense.
So practically speaking, or in a practical way, how are some ways that we can do that? Like I'm just thinking in my mind. I know one thing I observe you and Bella do on a regular basis is you'll take a moment and you'll sit together for 30 minutes and you'll journal. You'll do your journal, she'll do her journal, and then you kind of share a little bit about what you're journaling about. How often do you do that?
For the first year of the baby, we were super on top of it. It was a weekly thing. We would take that, let grandpa have the baby for 30 minutes. We're going to go sit down, we're going to write, and we'll discuss how we've been feeling about ourselves, about each other, about the baby, what's been going on, things like that. It was a good way for us to process those feelings, because with the journaling, you can write it down and process it individually. And then once you've flushed those thoughts out, you can take a step then with your partner of like, okay, let's discuss how we're feeling. So things don't get confused or muddied in the conversation or taken the wrong way. It's a good way to get your thoughts out, jot them down, organize them, and then to be able to come to your partner with these organized thoughts and be like, let's talk about this.
But even if it's not, specifically doesn't have anything to do with your personal relationship with your partner, right? It's still good to talk about your feelings, talk about those things.
It's the sad thing is in a lot of relationships, months can go by and you can find yourself not even going on a date.
Yeah.
Not spending any personal time. And I know from my experience that I'm best when I'm doing. What I mean by that is I'm best communicator and I'm best and open to suggestions and dialogue when I'm doing something. I'm horrible if you just say, sit down, I want to talk to you. It's like, that's my least productive way to go about connecting with somebody. My most productive way is, hey, let's go for a bike ride. Are you interested in going for a walk? You want to go to the gym? Hey, what about if we go do this? And getting me out and getting me doing something, it's like, it almost cracks open better way to explain it. My masculine, narrow-minded, focused personality where I have this list of things I need to get done and I just get doing them, I'm doing them, and nothing's going to take me off of that. You got to almost get me out doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of thinking and feeling, especially when it comes to expressing emotionality, is super common in males, boys, men. One of the things I've seen in academic journals is that it was boys are 40% more likely to express deeper emotion when doing an activity, playing ball, going for a walk. Those times where our body is occupied and we're kind of busy with our brain in that sense, allows for a little bit of like a weaker barrier to more easily express yourself.
Is that just because the brain structure and the way our different parts of our brain is formed, it's easier for the brain to access those feelings in the process of spatial movement and spatial doing? Is there brain science behind that?
I haven't done the full research. I wouldn't be able to speak on it, but it makes sense. I mean, personally, I'm almost the same way as you, Matt, where it's hard to sit down and just have a conversation one-on-one, but if we go outside and we throw a ball back and forth, it just seems easier, seems more natural.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of research on that. I don't know where I've read it, but I've read it a number of times that, structured learning for boys is very difficult, generally speaking, that the male brain is not set up for that type of classroom learning, that boys excelled in guilds, in what do they call those, mentorship programs, apprenticeships, because they learn by doing and movement.
Mm-hmm.
And that'd be really interesting to kind of nail down on where that research is. But across the board, I have 5 brothers, 5 sons of my own, son-in-laws. We're almost all the same. Like, we're almost all the same in the sense that get us doing something and you're going to be able to learn. And for me, part of what I did as a father is I connected with my boys through doing.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing stuff with my kids, I could very much teach and connect and guide in a more powerful way. And it's certainly true for me too. Like, if I need to connect with my wife and have a conversation, I should go do something.
Yeah.
And get engaged in something. And that's been the way that I've traditionally worked as a father.
Mm-hmm.
On a monthly, I try to do something with my children with a purpose. Get them out there to jump off a cliff, so to speak, go for a hike, ride a bike, but do it with a purpose. Build a model airplane.
And
whatever.
I feel like we've talked, some of these thoughts
Yeah.
you've had and some of those activities you did were the foundational work for what is the ModMan program today.
Exactly. Yeah, mentorship through doing helps you connect, helps you teach. Actually, it teaches for you, because you don't really have to teach anything if you're doing well thought out activities that have moral lessons in them already. I remember the time we all went and hiked Half Dome.
Yeah.
I mean, the preparation to go on that 9-mile hike and then get to the bottom of that bald rock that you have to pull yourself up the last half a mile on the side of this freaking cliff hanging, press, get up there, and the whole time we're hiking and we're talking about, I know this is hard, but it's gonna feel so good when we make it to the top, and all the lessons you learned along the way, and then eventually supporting each other to get there, and
we did it wearing we wore like cool Indian headdresses.
Yeah, we did do that.
Remember that?
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Stopped at the bottom and put our war paint on and get to the top.
Yeah. Made it a little more symbolic.
It did. It did, but you learn those lessons already, and I didn't have to do very much teaching. I just had to set the stage for the lessons to be learned, because really, as we talk about in ModMan, the cycle to manhood is a 4-step cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that 4-step cycle really only completes when you yourself have mentored another along the way. So you get invited on the journey yourself, you eventually become part of a brotherhood of men that mentor you along the way. Then you go out into the independent world to take your own walkabout, to travel your own road, and then you connect back into that community by guiding others along the way. And that cycle is a beautiful thing, because it's right where you're at. You're there.
And speaking of to start off the journey, it's that invitation.
Yeah.
And I know you've gone through that journey as well. You have been invited by your father. You guys have went through, and I wanted to talk a little bit about your invitation to manhood, and we got a piece of your invitation hiding back there.
Yeah. We got these. We brought our cool staffs with us today.
So Matt,
This is the one that I made right here.
Could you explain the significance and the importance that come with the staff and how that applies to inviting your boy on that journey to manhood?
Well, I think simply put, every good journey requires an understanding or a commitment by those going on the journey, that recognizing they're on the journey, right? And so for me, as a father, when my boys hit about 10 or 11 years old, I don't know exactly how old you were, but at some particular point, you're around 12 maybe.
Yeah.
I just invited you to come on a journey with me, and that journey was that we were going to discover manhood together, and that through participating in lots of activities on the monthly, you would learn different elements of what it meant to become a man. And it's always good to bribe your kids a little bit. And one good way to bribe boys is to make something fun, So we're going to go on this journey, and we're going to make these really cool staffs. And this year we're going to do a bunch of cool activities. And when we do the activities, we're going to hang little tchotchkes on your staff to remind you, everything. This one's a big one. Got some warthog tusks. We got some bottle caps. Just lots of real cool little tchotchkes that we put on there.
Trinkets and stuff.
Yeah, this is a little coin that we got when we completed an activity. But the invitation to extend out that, hey, will you get on this journey with me? And then do something to remember that invitation. So we made these staffs.
And making something cool, and then the symbolism of being able to hold on to this forever every time that you look at it. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't specifically remember like why I have each trinket on here that I have. I couldn't tell you exactly what each of them come from, but it's just the larger picture of being able to look at the staff and being able to think back on that journey that I did and all those things that I learned. I have the staff in my office, so every time I sit down and go to work, it's sitting right there. I have it in the corner. I get to look at it every day.
And we did shields. We did a wand, a magical wand one year. We did sword. We did a peace pipe.
Yeah,
we did a peace pipe.
The Indian headdresses.
Actually, we all smoked them, didn't we? Smoked the peace pipes. There was like 6 of us sitting around a campfire. It was after we hiked. After we
we came back.
We had our headdresses on, and we freaking smoked the peace pipes, didn't we?
That was so nasty.
Oh, it was horrible.
So gross.
Yeah, that was a good lesson right there too.
I think the staff, though, is a great symbol to be part of that invitation of manhood, because as you say, Matthew, it's a journey that's done alone, but as the father or the mentor figure, I can't do the journey for you, but I can be here to support you along the journey. Which is the symbol of the walking stick. And I think it's a really powerful tool. And also, like you said, it's something fun and memorable that if you do with your son, it can be a symbol that they look back on to remember those experiences and those lessons that they learned.
What I've experienced in life, and that is that we develop our morals and virtues in little small moments along the way of life. But each of us will have a handful of profound transitional experiences, rites of passage, some sort of experience that are so significant in our life that they will become moments that will anchor us when the storm might be upon us, right? So whether that's the invitation to get on the journey to manhood, or whether that's the baby that you just birthed with your partner, or whether that's a graduation from a 4-year, advanced learning degree at a university, whether that's you've gone to the military, whatever they are.
Milestones.
These are milestones, they're portals, they're things that happen in your life that you can always look back on that give you this sense of, okay, I made it this far. It was a really pivotal point in my life.
Another step up the ladder.
Yeah, and this person, like you said, the military or the army, right? I am this person. I've done this. It defines me in this way, right? And the confidence to be able to say, I can do this. I have done this before.
And in that in of itself doesn't define who you are or your manhood exactly. It's just a marker of remembrance of, yes, I completed my military boot camp. Boom. That has something to say about me as a person. I graduated from a university. Something to say about me as a person.
Yeah.
And the invitation when it comes to guiding a young boy onto the journey, or even the invitation to yourself. Like, let's just say that you realize that you want to become a better man. Inviting yourself to get on the pathway to becoming a better man, it's an invitation. It's an invitation to start. And it's not like that hasn't been done throughout the beginning of time. I mean, how many churches did communions, baptisms, bar mitzvahs, where the community invited the young men and the young women of their cultural unit to start some sort of journey,
to join something
along the way. So that was my way of doing it. I was stuck all by myself out in the middle of Europe with not a lot of family and friends, and not a lot of people in support. So that's kind of the way I did it for my kids. And the cool thing is that what I thought was going to be about creating a program to help them become better boys to be men actually is what helped me become a man. Because every activity I did, and every time I was being that mentor, I was reliving my own journey. And that's what's going to happen with you. And that's what's happening with you right now.
Yeah.
As you are mentoring your daughters and your path along the way, you're going to be reliving in your own life. You're going to be recalling, oh yeah, I remember when I had my first crush on somebody at school. I remember when I got cut from the soccer team my first time. Oh yeah, I remember what it was like to go camping and sleep overnight for the first time in the dark. And, I remember. And you begin to relive, and you kind of close the journey for yourself.
Yeah.
And I believe that if men saw it that way, they would be better fathers. If men actually quit saying, I should be a better dad, or I got to go take care of my kids, and instead just change the rhetoric, it's my opportunity to be a father, not my obligation. It's my opportunity, because in believing that and owning that, it really is about you.
Yeah.
It's about your own journey.
I think that was a pretty good conversation. I'm happy that you came, Sandro, and happy that we were able to get you on this side of the camera to participate with us. Hopefully we have you here a little more often too.
Come out of my shell sometimes.
Right on.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah. Glad to be here.
And good luck in the next couple of weeks, that baby.
Next time we see Sandro, it'll probably be a dad, so.
Throw up on his neck.
Same, right?